marching band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Post-game reaction time for Auburn men's basketball. This game versus Arkansas, round 2 in 2025-26 season. The Razorbacks are victorious. We're going to talk about that score, the stats, and the storylines all coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, we discuss and share in the Auburn experience, all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing this late evening for Auburn men's basketball post-game reaction show, Auburn versus Arkansas. Your final score, 88-75. The Razorbacks get a little bit of revenge on the Tigers for the walloping that they put on them in Neville Arena earlier in the season. So interesting storylines to talk about amongst all these things. We're going to get into all that. This is about the stats and the stories. After all, the individual stats, the team stats, and the stories amongst all of that you want to talk about and I want to talk about this evening. So we're going to jump into all those different things tonight. Jump into the chat if you're watching live. Let us know that you're here. Start off the show with letting us know where you're watching from. A War Eagle. Do tap the like button if you can. It is helpful for me. If you don't want to like the stream for the our basketball team, I understand, but certainly we would appreciate that you do that for us this evening, and the share button, all that kind of stuff, no matter where you're watching. And even if you're on the replay, we appreciate those of you that come back for the replay, the audio portion of the show, all that great stuff. We appreciate you being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Our agenda for these types of shows is as such. We're going to walk through the individual stats first, the team stats, look at the big three in there. And then if there's time for it at the end of the show, we'll provide a little bit of commentary from you all in more detail if there's some stuff that we need to hash out with you all at the end of the show. Now, I always want to start off with some opening thoughts. I do know that the majority of you, other than lamenting about the loss, do want me to touch on the Keshan Hall discussion. I think we'll save that for the very end, right after all of the individual stats discussion, although I'm sure it'll work itself in naturally regardless of that. So that will come up. So we'll talk about that coming up a little bit earlier in the show. But certainly, I know this is not what a lot of Auburn fans want to hear. There are a lot of good things to see in this particular game from individuals, maybe not necessarily the team. And then as I did a quick browsing of the team stats, it's really ironic some of the situations we found ourselves in where this could have been much closer. And you do wonder the question. I said I was going to talk about it later, but you do wonder what this would have been like had Keshan Hall been able to play in this game. We'll talk about it. Hang in there. We'll talk about it. So obviously we'll get there at some point throughout the stream, but it's a frustrating loss. But at some points, I thought the Tigers showed a lot of fight given the circumstances within the team, what they had to come up against with an Arkansas team that is playing a lot better, that had a little bit more healthy, and was chomping at the bit for a little bit of revenge after they got embarrassed in Neville Arena. I would say this one you could make the case, and I'm sure the Arkansas fans will make the case that this is a little bit of embarrassment, but if that's the case, then you should have done a better job. But they only lose by 13 without their best player, and they were within 4 points several times throughout the game. Either way, I know there's a lot of opinions to be had about that, so we'll jump into it here. Let's start with the individual stats this evening, as we typically do, and we'll start with your leading scorer. What is this, like the third game in a row or something like that? Tahad Pettiford, 29 points. You are not sleepwalking. You are not dreaming. You're not imagining this. Tahad Pettiford in the 2025-26 season, especially in SEC play, scored 29 points. Now, you say that and you joke about that, but the going story was that he loved to play on the road. And so that, I mean, this kind of matches right here. 29 points from a boy. Well done. So if you want to spin it a certain way, when you've lost your best player, the other players have got to step up and, in a big way. And someone who hasn't done that, at least offensively, a lot this year has been Tahad, but lately he is. So he has a little bit of a fire lit underneath him. He is 11 for 18 on the day, 4 for 7 from the three-point arc, makes all his free throws, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, only 1 personal foul, 3 turnovers in 38 minutes of play. That is a very solid stat line for Tahad Pettiford. And I think we would have to go back and research this, but this might be the best looking stat line of his entire game. And yes, it has a lot to do with his offensive numbers, but it's a little bit more efficient with shooting the ball, especially from the three-point arc for him. He's still the leading assist guy. He's doing his role as the main point guard. He is, I mean, we got to give the man some credit. Credit where credit is due. And I think that's one of the things that you need to take away from this. And I know not be excited about it, but at least have something positive to take away from this game. The way that Tahad is not just playing in this game, but playing lately. And it's a really good sign if everything kind of starts going together in the right directions. And we'll see what happens there. A lot of other things to work out with that. Now, we talk about him as the leading scorer tonight. Probably your player of the game, just looking at his stat line. But we're also going to give a lot of credit to the next leading scorer for Auburn this evening, and that is my boy Keshan Murphy. 22 points from him. What is it? Like 18 something? I think I should have looked it up. How many he had in the first half? Let's see if we can find it real quick for you without making this boring. 18 points in the first half, so he goes quiet in the second half, but he was on a tear. You talk about players needing to step up when your leading scorer is down. Tahad did it. Keshan Murphy did. Now, Keshan has been increasingly better throughout the season, but 22 points, 9 for 16 from the field. He does attempt 2 3-pointers and doesn't make them. 4 of 6 from the free throw line. 12 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 personal fouls, no turnovers in 34 minutes of play. Very solid stat line from your primary big man tonight. Very proud of Mr. Keshan Murphy and what he was able to accomplish tonight, especially scoring-wise. So 2 Auburn guys in a double-double, mind you, so don't let me forget that. Mention that. It's a double-double tonight. 22 points for him, 29 for Tahad Pettiford. You had 2 players that hit 20 points tonight, and they're the only players to hit double digits tonight. One came close. But you kind of expected this, right? The scoring has primarily come from Keshan Hall when he's playing, usually either Tahad or Kevin Overton, sometimes Keshan Murphy. But I think that's really what's lacking right here, right at this point in the team. We've got to have some other people step up and some the numbers, especially in moments like this. Now, the next person down, Elijah Freeman, who gets to start tonight. 9 points, 3 for 10 for him, 2 for 4 from the three-point arc, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds. So he's 1 point and 1 rebound shy of a double-double himself. 3 personal fouls, 2 turnovers, no assists, 36 minutes of play for him this evening. Your starters played a lot of minutes, guys. Played a lot of minutes. So the fact that they were going to be probably dog tired by the end of this and they managed what they were able to manage against that good of an Arkansas team, I know some of you don't want to hear it. There is a little bit of it. I'm going to call it a silver lining, just something that makes this not stink as bad as it probably should. But there you go. So Elijah Freeman for that one. Sebastian Williams Adams, 6 points for him, 2 for 5 from the field. He doesn't make it his 3-pointer, 2 for 4 from the free throw line, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 34 minutes of play. I'd like to see Sebastian get a few more a few more scoring games where he is just, we haven't seen that as much of him. Like, he's a great versatile player for his size and does a lot of good things. But yeah, we're lacking a little bit in the offensive category from some of the individuals that could be doing a little bit more, I think, sometimes. Simon Walker gets in, Blake Muselik gets in, not really much to talk about for them there. The only other person to score points tonight is Philip Jovic. Now, what's interesting to talk about here, he's doing exactly what you expect of him. For the most part, pretty efficient, makes 2 free throws, doesn't take a lot of shots, but what he does, he takes high percentage shots, 2 rebounds, 1 turnover for him, 3 personal fouls. And he was very key in some offensive rebounds tonight, giving Auburn some opportunities they didn't necessarily, I want to say, earn. That doesn't fit. That feels a little bit harsh on this one. We'll get to some of the rants and stuff that I know are going on in the chat right now in a little bit. We have time to look at them. But what was I going to say with that when I lost my train of thought because I was looking at a long paragraph there. I'm always sorry. A little quick aside. I'm always intrigued when people write long paragraphs. I usually know that means there's a rant coming, and I hope it's worthwhile reading. Let me see. Philip Jovic, yes. Coach talked about that we needed to find him more minutes. From my recollection, this isn't really that much more, and so I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like for them, but he acknowledged it. I think that's correct. We talked about it a couple streams ago. He's a very efficient guy. When you want him to go score, he will. But it looks like he has to kind of be encouraged to do that because the one game where he was encouraged to do that, he popped off for like 22 points. I'm all choked up about this. Excuse me just a little bit here. Sorry about that. So anyway, that's your individual stats tonight. I don't think there's really anything. The highlights of the game. Keshan Murphy had in a game full of slam dunks, probably the highlight of the Auburn with that slam dunk, and just destroyed, and I mean absolutely destroyed the rim down there in the first half. So I was excited to see that out of him. Excited to see that out of Tahad. Other than that, I know there's not a lot of exciting things to talk about there. Scoring by half, 32-38. So Auburn was only down 6 at the half, but 43-50 in the second half, which results in your 75-88 win here. Listen, this is a good Arkansas team, but Arkansas should not have allowed it to be this close. I mean, they had us on the rope several times. Auburn was able to fight back. Commendable for Auburn to be able to do that without your leading scorer. I often say, a team is really defined by what they look like when they lose their number one player. And you saw a little bit of that tonight, but I thought they'd look a little bit worse, to be honest with you, against a team of this caliber at their home court. I didn't think they looked horrible. Obviously, they didn't look great. It could have been better. It could have been better. And we're not going to be catastrophizing like some of you are doing in the chat right now. All right, let's keep going here. That's the individual stats. If there's something that we need to talk about an individual, certainly you can post it. We'll come back around to it and talk about it if we need to. Team stats tonight. Let's talk about it. You know where we're going to start here? The big three. Again, as a reminder, why we focus on that. In my opinion, they tell a lot of the tale of the tape. If you find yourself in a position winning all of these categories, or at least 2 of them, you're going to be in a very strong position to have a shot at winning the game. Doesn't always mean that. I think tonight's an example of that. Usually means there's a skew somewhere else that really tells the tale of the tape, and we'll find it. But let's talk about the big 3 to start off with tonight in team stats. Free throw percentage tonight, 75% for Auburn. After a horrible start, if I remember correctly, in free throws, 75% to Arkansas's 67%. Arkansas could have put this thing away if they had made their free throws. They 10 of 15, so they didn't shoot a whole lot. Auburn didn't shoot that much more. But 75% for Auburn. It's about right at where they've been, I want to say, averaging lately. They've been doing a lot better, lately. Close, higher 70s, or they've been in the 80s a couple of times. They were at 90% one time, and I literally had like the field day with that. But Auburn wins this category. Auburn wins the category. All right, turnovers. 7-5. Auburn loses this category, but they don't have a ton of turnovers, even given some of the stressors they were under tonight, whether it's just about being at Arkansas or without your best player. Not a lot of margin of victory there for Arkansas in the turnover category. Rebounds tonight, Auburn wins by a small margin, 34 to 31. So Auburn wins 2 out of the 3 big 3 stats in the team stats for me tonight, which should tell you that they were in a position to win this game, even with it not being that big of margin of victory in those categories. So what's the difference? There's got to be a bigger difference here when you have a 13-point deficit. Usually when we see someone winning those categories like that, or it being close in the majority of them, when you did lose it, there's got to be something else. So let's see if we can find it a little bit. Auburn field goal shooting percentage 41. Arkansas is 57. That might be it. It's pretty significant. They made well over 1 out of every 2 shots they were taking at home, and shot less than Auburn tonight as well. So there's that. Their 3-point percentage is a little bit better than Auburn tonight. Auburn does 32. They do 38. It's not like exorbitantly more. You've got points off of turnovers is in the favor of Arkansas by a few. Auburn actually doubled up them in offensive rebounds tonight, so that may have been what helped keep this a lot closer than maybe it should have been. Second chance points, Auburn wins that category tonight, 15-11. Bench points 4-11. Wasn't going to be shocked by that when one of your bench players is being pulled into a starting role tonight. Points in the paint, I think we might have found it, 34-52. Points in the paint is a category that Auburn has really done well in this year, and a lot of that has been because of Keshan Hall. He likes to take the ball to the basket, draw the foul, and go to the free throw line. But 34-52, Arkansas dominated that. I think that may be the story right there tonight. The rest of the stuff, 10-17, Auburn loses fast break points. There were a lot of blocks. They won that one. Arkansas did. Steals tonight, 2-3. So, I mean, really it's a defensive game. The defensive stats show that was very much in the favor of Arkansas. 10 assists to 19 assists for Auburn, with Arkansas winning that one. Yeah, so when you look at this thing, the big 3 stats tell you that Auburn should have been a little bit closer, but you could probably point to how well Arkansas was shooting well at home. You could point to especially the points in the paint, which has been really the key stat a lot of this time in Auburn's victories, especially 34-52. I think the obvious talking point here is that Auburn missed Keshan Hall. So let me park our stats conversations here for a second and come back. I did promise you that I would talk about that a little bit, just my interpretation and discussion of it. Now, listen, I don't know what the full story is. Obviously, we all see the same reports. We saw and heard what Steven said that it was a disciplinary thing, that it's up to Keshan Hall that when he comes back in, and they also said in the same breath that we need him, or in a recent press conference that we need him to be there. So this is obviously a mutual desire to get this thing back right to where it needs to be. What I saw from Keshan Hall on the bench tonight was cheering on his teammates. Not that I didn't expect to not see that, but you always are encouraged to see that in situations like this. So I think if you have one of 2 choices as a fan, well, maybe more choices. You can choose to be mad at Steven for taking him out and obviously in some ways hurting the team tonight. I think that's very evident. Some of the areas that they're lacking, Keshan Hall usually makes a factor in. But you can also be a fan of him really sticking to his guns here on the culture that he's going to instill here as part of his program for his players. You can be happy and ecstatic about that. I wouldn't be ecstatic about that, but that's a choice as well. You can be mad at Keshan Hall for this, and I think that's a little bit fair too, but I think he's obviously taking it in stride based off what we can see out there. Listen, it is what it is at this point. Everybody's kind of made up their minds what they feel about this team, and they're going to look to utilize anything they can to either just lock into their negativity or their positivity of this team. This was an unfortunate situation. It feels a little bit in the same vein as that plane incident last year. Not of that magnitude, but it feels like that for this year. And it is what it is. It can be something that galvanizes this team. It can be kind of you stick a pin in this and say, from this point forward, that was our low point. we go up from here. And if that's the case, and we've seen them do a lot better, you should be very encouraged by that. So we'll see how it shakes out. That's about, I think, all I can say on it, unless there's something else that we need to jump into that a little bit. Here's a little comment on that from Blake. Where did it go, Blake? Sorry. Hall hurts us tonight, kept us off the free throw line. But I support SP, number 2 strength of schedule. I feel like we are doing okay still. Maybe we get things in check and heat up in March. Certainly a lot of opportunities left for that out there. And we'll see if that is if that's going to happen or not. All right, so there you have it. There is your final score. Again, tonight, Auburn falls 88-75. Your player of the game has got to be Tahad Pettiford, even though Keshan Murphy had an outstanding game as well. But this was what a lot of people hope to see out of Tahad on the road too. You got to have that from him in a situation like this. And then your stat of the game is probably going to be points in the paint, where Auburn usually does very well in this category. Had a lot of margin of victory for Arkansas there, 34-52. They win that one. I think that's the big difference, even with Auburn winning 2 out of 3 big team stats. So there you have it. Auburn to Arkansas. They get revenge. Our boat weapon was a little bit worse on them, though, in Neville Arena. All right, so we'll come back around to some of your commentary here. We'll try to do that our best. What I can give you some advice on is, if you'd like for me to touch on something specifically, try to bring it back up to the top of the chat. That's fine if it has to not spam, but you know what I mean. You can retype it if you need to, so I don't have to go back too far and search for what you would like me to address. But bring that to the forefront. What do you guys want me to expand on, talk about a little bit more, and dive into tonight? But before we do that, and while you're thinking about those things, let me talk a little bit about what's coming up next here at E2C Network. Next scheduled live streams tomorrow night. Would love for you to join us. The Auburn Experience is our main podcast. We'll talk about sports, culture, and family, episode 162. We're back at 9 o'clock because there's no Super Bowl. So join us for that. You can watch the live, the sausage being made. It's always a good time, and there will be a little Q&A session at the end of it too, if you would like to utilize that as well. There's also another post-game stream. I know a lot of you are thrilled about that right now, but trust me, you're going to be missing Auburn basketball shortly, so don't be those negative Nancys out there, and enjoy it while you got it. Auburn at Mississippi State. We'll talk about it post-game on Wednesday, which means no Auburn family night this week. Keep that in mind. That is your plan. Next week's schedule, tentative at this moment. Hope to see you at a lot of those different things. And I would say this, if you're a TikTok follower, probably a good idea to be following there and checking in after baseball games. We may be trying some stuff over there for a little while. So just something to keep in mind this evening. All right. I haven't seen all of Michael's commentary a little bit, but I have a feeling I'm going to disagree with it. It feels a little bit of catastrophizing. So, Michael, if there's a main point you want to bring to the forefront, we certainly can. But let's we'll kind of see what else is going on here. I've brought up Blake's point about just overall, just to bring it back to the front, having Hall not hurt us tonight, kept us off the free throw line. Still supporting SP. I think that's the main thing you have to remember right now. There's a lot of fans that want to panic, catastrophize. They kind of bought into this narrative that Steven is a nepotism hire and that A didn't deserve to be there. And so they want to, because they kind of believe that a little bit, they want this struggle right now to kind of make them feel better about buying into that a little bit. That's going on right now. This team's got a lot of season left ahead of it and has the opportunity to switch gears here yet again, because people forget that they had a great start, kind of a lull, another really good stretch through conference play, and now they're in kind of a rough stretch here. So we'll see what happens. Sometimes these moments can galvanize the team. We'll see if it does, and I think that's got to be the hope for it right now. Looking through, let's see here. Don't start with the refs. I'm sorry, but that grinds my gears. There were foul issues for both teams. Let's take a look at it tonight and see. Personal fouls, 15 for Auburn to 16 for Arkansas. So pretty fair across the board. They had one more, and we shot 20 more free throws, 5 more free throws than them. So that is a fair assessment that it would, at least on numbers wise, it's a little bit better there. Devin says it's always the time to teach how to be good men on and off the court. What are ridiculous things to say? Life is bigger than basketball. I'm not sure what I'm missing there. Yeah, listen, Michael, we're going to give you we're just going to go ahead and get rid of you, my man. I didn't mean to bring you up there. You're just kind of one of those catastrophizers that we don't need here. So you can come back another time if you'd like to. I had a feeling that was going to head that way. Listen, folks, when you go to the term of sunshine pumping and stuff like that, that's when you know that you've won the argument with them, that they just want to be miserable with someone else or somebody else to be miserable with you. It's so sad when you see that type of stuff. They're just miserable people and they've got their priorities way out of whack. There's no sunshine pumping happening here. There's reality talking because there was good with the bad. So again, those are great examples of what not to be. Let's see here. Devin said earlier, I was surprised the game was as close as it was. I would agree with that, Devin. I was tired. Yes, I am tired. I'm very tired. Let's see here. Running back through some of your chats here to see if there's anything else that we need to talk about. Someone earlier in the season said that Pettiford would click eventually. I can't remember who, but the name started with a W. Sam, so I should have given you credit when I talked about it could be the playing thing. Certainly it could have. It certainly could have. All right. I think I've made it all the way back up, mostly to the top. I may have missed some of your commentary, so if there's something else that we need to talk about. Kyle, for reference, he said now is not the time to be handing out disciplinary action because we are fighting to be in the tournament. Yeah, listen, I would say that's someone that has the wrong perspective about winning, where the only thing that matters, and when I say this, there's going to be people that flinch. Winning isn't everything. It is why you do it. It is the most important thing, but it is not everything. How you win is important as well. And sometimes you have to do that, especially when you're a first year head coach, trying to set a precedent for how your thing's going to be run. You know, if a star player comes in and shows that he can show his tail, if that's what this is about, I would assume so, without repercussions, then you're going to have the next one do that and the next one do that. And then before you know it, then you do actually have true issues within your program. It's just, you know, it now is the time actually for the discipline to happen, not much later in the season. You got like 6 games left. I would rather this happen now than with 4 games left and there be a little bit of animosity still lingering around. You get this handled now, set the precedent. It can be a nice motivator. I would rather my coach adhere to the standards of a program that bend the rules to one player. Hall may be the best player, but doesn't mean he's not held to the standards of the team. I would agree with that. The problem is too many fans don't remember, and we're not born to see what Auburn basketball was like before Bruce. Yeah, there's a lot of spoiledness going on right now. Kyle, would you say the first half kind of set the tone and put us behind, and then we spent the rest of the time playing catch up? Well, if that's your question, you'd have to maybe help me understand what you mean by that, because the first half was pretty good by all accounts for Auburn. They're only down by 6, and they were as close as as close as 4 points. As far as I remember, they may have been even closer than that. Let me see here. The lead changed only once. They were tied 3 times, but that was early on times tie. I'm just trying to make sure if I can figure out where all of that happened. I would say the tone was set by Auburn, but one that was going to be where they were not going to give up on this thing. And they showed that fight a little bit in the second half as well. But Arkansas just came out and hit them right in the mouth. What was it? I forget what the run was. They came out just on fire, like 10-0 run or something like that to start off. It was bad. Say the first half. I see what you're saying. Winning with class and standards rather than winning with or than being classless. I guess that was in reference to all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So look, a lot of frustration, a lot of discomfort, a lot of unhappiness in the Auburn fan base right now. I get it. I really do. It's tough. This Micah says, you know how much I hate Auburn, but it doesn't matter what school you go to. Standards of the team are just about the same in terms of rules. Right. You got to have standards. You got to adhere to the rules. And if you don't, there's consequences, no matter if you are the star player or not. What I'm encouraged by out of this is that the player who is in reference to that seemed to have gotten the message based on body language and shots of him during the game. And I find that very encouraging. I find that very mature, because even if behind the scenes it's different, at least you're putting the face out there that you have received that message. And so I'm encouraged by that. It makes me excited, actually, for the next game. So, yeah, you do have Mississippi State coming up, and you've got people, as you saw earlier, catastrophizing. Can we even win this game? I mean, of course we can. So if you don't think so, don't watch the games. Don't be that type of person. Is my view on that. WT says, I'm not ready to give up on the team. I think they get hot down the stretch, and that is when it is most important. I think we go on a win streak coming up. Hope so, because I think some of the how do I say this nicely? The least persevering of our fan base need that to be saying right now. All that to be said, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, and spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As we go, this is especially a good time to remind you, if you're an Auburn fan, you subscribe to the Auburn Creed, whether you want to or not. It asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We're going to ask you to do the exact same thing.